Hello everyone, it is nice to see you again. If you are not living under a rock, probably you heard about this new virus from China, the new novel coronavirus of 2019. Everyone is talking about this, guessing what's going to happen, and the internet is full of fake news and horror stories. Maybe I should do my own research. I was like, I can share it with you guys. Anyhow, I think my channel is ready for a viral video. First things first, probably I'm the only one who missed these lessons in the biology class back in high school, but I was not entirely sure what's a virus and why do we need them, why are they good for. So I did my research as usual and I will summarize up my findings in
267
seconds. Viruses are really small and simple things. They are just their genetics information, RNA or DNA, and a protein shell around them. Their main purpose, as with almost everything in life, is to reproduce. They cannot do it on their own. They need a host body where they need to infiltrate their cells, inject their RNA or DNA, and then get the cells to reproduce viruses for themselves. There's a question, are viruses living or non-living things? And the answer is maybe. So they are somewhere between, I guess. Now I wanted to know the origin of these suckers. Again, there's no agreed one theory behind them, but there are several. They are not leaving carbon traces behind them, so they cannot be found in fossils or anything, but they are in our DNA. Actually, 8% of our own DNA is derived from viruses, which is pretty interesting, I guess. It means that we can definitely trace them back to the beginning of mammals a couple 100 million years back in history. But hands down, my favorite theory is that because they are so simple creatures, not living things, maybe they were the first before any complex form of life, and why they try to inject their RNA or DNA into a bacteria, they messed it up, and boom, here's how we got to the more complex forms of life. So actually, maybe viruses sparked life on Earth. At this point of my research, I was like, but I had more and more questions. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this topic. Come with me. I can assure you, you won't regret it. So once again, how this thing happened with the virus DNA in our own DNA? Let's consider that every ancestor what we had the chance to meet with a lot of viruses. And there are some viruses which can infect the reproductive system of animals, humans, anything. If they are injecting their own DNA, there's a possibility that their DNA is going to mix. This mixture is going to reproduce new members of this animal creature family. This is how all the descendants can get new DNA, which contains some pieces from virus DNA. Wow. Okay, now that's sorted, but we still need to be aware of some aspects of viral infections, so this is what I'm going to describe in this video. I'll make it quick, I promise. There are several virus families, and of course we can go nuts in virus classification in details, but of course we're just gonna scrap the surface. This variety of viruses can happen because their mutation process is really quick compared to all the complex creatures on Earth. There are the ones which contain only RNA information, and their mutation can happen each and every reproduction. This is going to be a slight change, but it results in a bigger change after a lot of cycles. To somewhat justify this mutation rate, we need to understand how the infection and reproduction process works. As you can see, not all viruses are made equal. One differentiating factor is the surface of the protein layer. This consists of H and N bits, giving the naming of some viruses like H1N1. The nature of the surface will determine what kind of cells it can interact with. If the cell thinks that the protein blob suits its needs, the virus is going to be ingested, kind of a Trojan horse. Now it makes sense why certain viruses can spread within specific species, but not among others. Remember this, we will use this information later. After penetrating the cell, the virus either waits a couple of days without doing anything or injects its DNA or RNA right away and forces the cell to reproduce new viruses, till the cell bursts and dies. After many cells died, your immune system realizes that something is wrong and starts its response in the form of T cells and antibodies for the specific virus that has infected you. If everything goes well, you will have all sorts of common symptoms: fever, sore throat, weakness, pain in your bones, and so on. mostly because your body is using most of your resources to fight the virus. If you crave some more information, you can find a lot of good resources on the internet. I can tell you that. Now that we have all the basic understanding over viruses, we can try to dig ourselves into this new Wuhan virus. So this type is the coronavirus, given the shape, and normally this family only infects animals. So how can we interact with them? In this case, the best bet is that the virus is coming from a bat. You know, I'm not judging people, there we have cultural differences, but they are actually eating the bat in soups and such. But why bats? This is a really good question. They are really small, and for their flights they need tremendous amount of energy. While they are flying, actually their cells are dying. Their immune system gets used to all the dead cells, so when a virus infects a bat, it cannot combat this virus right away because maybe the cells are just dying because how he lives. The bat's immune system got used to this behavior, and some forms of viruses can freely live inside the bats and not cause a problem. So long story short, bats are full of viruses. Maybe not in the form of eating it, but somehow it got in contact with a human being, and within a human, this virus had the opportunity to recombine with some other virus. They could exchange their DNA or RNA. Now there's a novel virus which can actually infect human beings, not just animals. And this is the point where it gets more serious. It belongs to the same virus family as the SARS virus from 2003, which caused a real pandemic, originated from China, infecting around 8,000 people. The good thing is that the Chinese government seems to be a lot more open about this in communication, so we know a lot more about this topic than what we had the information back with SARS. But we still don't know how much we can trust these numbers. When I'm recording the video, we have 25,000 infections and around 500 deaths. This is really bad, but still we are looking at around 2% of mortality, which is if you know these games where your goal is to infect one population and you have just one patient zero, you understand it that these numbers are going to match the curvature of some exponential function, so we can expect a lot more infections. No wonder that everyone is following the news and hoping in this outbreak to stop. Even the World Health Organization declared a global health emergency. This is getting real. This virus has all the potential to become a pandemic. Probably it will. We will see, hopefully not. But what is for sure, because this is a novel virus, we have no vaccines, no medication. We can just handle all the other symptoms and leave our immune system to do the rest of the heavy lifting. So far, the Chinese government has set up the biggest quarantine in human history, and now they are building hospitals for thousands of people within days. But personally, I don't think that the virus can be contained within the borders of China, although definitely the quarantine and all the restrictions over public transportation is a good way where we are heading to, and because all the people are vigilant and they are following the news and probably they are watching their hygiene routines, this can stop or at least slow down the infection. The recommendations of the World Health Organization are the actual steps what you can follow now. Most of them are kinda obvious, but I will list them quickly here. Cover your mouth and nose while coughing or sneezing. Avoid contact with other people, especially if they are sick. Wear masks, especially at medical environment. Okay, we should stop here for a sec. I have this mask on me, which is really hard to find nowadays. But actually I was kind of suspicious how this is going to prevent me from getting infected by the virus, because you know the filter size of these dust masks is really a tad bit larger than the virus itself. So I made my investigation here as well. So in your everyday store you can buy 3 different types from these masks. There are FFP1, 2, 3. What those numbers mean? Of course they differ in filtering capabilities. I found this graph so you can clearly see how they compare to the surgical masks, which you can see people wearing everywhere on the news. I think those are rather good for people who are actually sick, not to infect others. Already this FFP1 has a better filtering capability than all the surgical masks. The only mask which can be used in viral infections is FFP3. Mine is FFP1, and next to this FFP1 you can see NR, which means non-reusable. And this makes sense because if this whole exterior is covered in virus, you shouldn't be touching it and bringing it into your home. So keep that in mind. And now back to the list. Hand washing or using hand sanitizers, which are also out of stock. Avoid touching animals, cook everything well. If you are sick, stay at home, please. In short, this is what we can do right now, but the main questions remain. Are we doomed? Or what happens if you get sick? Will you die? Humanity will survive, I have no questions about it. Well, the scale of this infection, the outbreak, will depend on the people's behavior and how the Chinese people can contain the virus within their cities and in China. The Chinese economy and the global economy will suffer, that's for sure. I'm not too concerned myself because most of the cases resulting in that happen within the groups of elderly or people with medical preconditions. I hope in this case I still qualify as being young and I'm not smoking, not doing anything which could damage my lungs. So probably I'm fine, probably I should recover. And I think it's true for 98% of you who are watching, at least, but I think maybe 100. So I think this virus is bad, really bad for everyone with the economy and everything, but I think you shouldn't be freaked out or anything. We probably can handle this. If you really want to follow closely these events and the numbers, how they're growing, I put together a live stream. If I can, I will link it somewhere here, where you can gain your insight with the numbers and keep up with the news. I did my absolute best with the research to fill the holes in my own knowledge and hopefully give you some information, but as always, with any YouTube video, you should never trust the information, you should take it with a grain of salt. So if you are really interested, make your own research. Thank you very much for watching. Stay safe guys, stay healthy, and see you in the next one. Hopefully you learned something from this video.